I want to start today with a sentence that might make you want to turn off this broadcast, but I need you to hear it. You don't have a budgeting problem. You have a belief problem. I said it. All right, let's talk. Welcome back to the Den Podcast. I'm your host, Deb Howard, and today we are tearing down the wall between you and your bank account. Listen, I know you don't want to talk about it, but the year just started and this is a good time to talk about it. Let's start the year off right. Listen, most of us spend our lives thinking that if we had um, a better tool, right? A better spreadsheet, a better app, or more willpower, our financial lives would finally click into place. But let's be honest. How many times have you started a budget? Let's just talk for a minute. How many times have you started a budget? Let's say on a Monday, only to abandon it by Friday. How many expense trackers have you tried? Whether it was on paper or whether it was an app. How many of you got the Karma app? Maybe you got the Rocket app. Maybe you got, I don't know, there's so many apps out there. Pocket Guard. You got all these apps that you've downloaded. You might even still be paying a monthly fee for, and they are sitting unused on your phone or on your iPad. Today, we're going to talk just a few minutes about why discipline isn't the issue. I really want you to hear that. Why discipline isn't the issue. It's not that you're not disciplined. We're going to look at this from a psychology of avoidance perspective. Yes, there is the psychology of avoidance and how to finally bring your money out of the dark. Yes, come to the light, Carol Ann. Okay, some of y'all might be too young for that reference. That was from a movie called Poltergeist. Anyway, let's talk. So let's look at the biggest lie in personal finance. And that is the myth that people fail because they lack discipline when it comes to budgeting. Did you know that was a myth? I know you probably told yourself 100 times that if I only had more willpower, if I only had more discipline, I would be able to budget. I'm here to tell you today that is a myth. We tell ourselves, I'm just not a numbers person, or I'm too impulsive. Life is too short. You only live once. I don't want to be bogged down in determining if I can afford to do something or not. We treat a budget like a diet, and we already know diets don't work, right? A restrictive, painful thing that we have to endure instead of being a tool to help us live our most abundant life. Yes. But discipline is a finite resource. If your entire financial strategy, personal financial strategy, relies on you being perfect every day, you are setting yourself up to fail. We already know we're not perfect beings. It's not about how hard you can grit your teeth or how much you can endure. It's about what you believe about yourself when you look at those numbers. Now, if you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you know I talk a lot about self confidence, self love, identity, being in alignment with who God called us to be. This is such a foundational principle in order for you to be effective in managing your personal finances. I wish I could really break down, there's just not time, the importance, the foundational urgency in understanding that those numbers are not a reflection of your self worth. They're not. Budgeting fails many times, right? We fail at budgeting because shame makes you avoid the truth. Think about the last time you went a week without checking your bank balance or your credit card balance, whatever you're using. Why didn't you look? Was it because you were lazy? I doubt it. It wasn't because you were lazy. No, the proof is in the feeling. You don't avoid your numbers because you're lazy. You avoid them because looking at them triggers guilt, triggers shame. Every transaction that you look at feels like some kind of moral failure. That dinner that was $50 to your brain, when you look at that transaction, it's proof that you're bad with money, or that you have bad decision making, or that you don't have willpower. So, to protect yourself from feeling all those feelings, that shame, that guilt, all of that, you just don't look. Close the app, don't open the bank statement, don't open your computer. You stop tracking. You stay in the dark because the light, shining visibility, shining light on that thing hurts. So, how do we break the cycle? I'm sure you're wondering. Listen, we don't start with a complex 50 category spreadsheet. At least that's not what I do, right? In my coaching, we start first by changing the belief that somehow looking at your money is some kind of life performance review. Don't you hate performance reviews at work? Listen, I like the part when it talks about getting more money, but typically the process itself is a pain in the butt. And so it is with budgeting, with keeping a spending plan. Every time we look at it, it's like a report card. And if we go outside the spending plan that we've established, it feels like we're making all F's. But that's not it. And so to start, we don't want to start with all everything right there. We want to start with the belief that, listen, this money, this is data, right? These transactions, they're information. They're not a reflection of who I am. They're not a reflection of my self worth. So here's your action step for this week: the 10-minute check in. That's it. 10 minutes. No judgment. No talking to yourself and saying I shouldn't have bought that, or I could have did something different. Just look at the information. I want you to, um, if you're not already doing this, take that 10 minutes this week and just look at it. Don't make any plans. Don't say, oh, I'm going to change anything. We are just connecting. Let me put it that way. We are just connecting with the numbers. We're just connecting with the information, looking at what we do with our money. Just the facts. So log in, look at the numbers. If you don't have a bank account, look at the pay card. Look at whatever it is. Look at your receipts if you're a cash person. Acknowledge what is there. Again, no judgment. Let's just acknowledge this is where my money is going. Just information. You are a scientist. Picture that, right? Put on that persona. You are a scientist observing data. You're not a judge passing a sentence. There's no punishment here. When you remove the shame, you regain the power to change the direction. There is so much power in just reviewing because this is your information, and taking back control. I'm not going to be random anymore. I'm not going to pretend like things aren't the way they are. Because however way they are, listen, this is just information. This is just data right now. I can make decisions if I have the right data. But if I don't look at this data, if I don't connect with this spending, with where my money is going, where my time is going. Remember, many of you may work some kind of 9 to 5 job, some kind of job where you're exchanging time for money. So I want you to look at your transactions in a non-judgmental way, but understanding that this is time that you're giving away, right? Because I had to work X number of hours to make this money. So when you take control in that way of just owning the information, being able to comfortably review it, right? Because that's all we're doing this week, just reviewing the information. We're gaining some control over our own personal destiny, strategy over our own personal finances. Listen, thanks for joining me on today. I want you to know you cannot manage what you are afraid to see. I was there, y'all, in the height of my financial turmoil. The last thing I wanted to do, like the very last thing I wanted to do, was look at my bank account. I would literally feel like I was having a panic attack. My heart would start beating faster. Basically, because I knew that number one, number one, I wasn't making enough money to cover all the bills. I knew that. And number two, because I knew that I had made some decisions to spend money that I actually didn't have. And the truth of the matter is, it was money that it wasn't on frivolous things. It was on things that were needed. I just didn't have the income to cover all the expenses, all the responsibilities that I had incurred in that point in my life. So I wouldn't look. I would only look when I had to look. I didn't even like looking on payday because many times this was back in the day, so I'm probably finna aid myself. But back in the day, I did have a bank account, but many times it would be negative. There would be a negative balance because I've overspent. So by the time my paycheck came, well, I already owed the bank whatever number of dollars. And typically, I knew that I was going to be in the hole again. But you can't heal what's in the dark. Money can't be a mystery. We can't guess about this. So that information has to come into the light. There has to be visibility on it. You've got to look at it. Bring it to the light. That's all we're doing this week. Your data, your transactions, whether it's on a spreadsheet or in an app, is it just information? But your belief, that's the engine. That's the power. Once you believe that the numbers are just information and not a reflection of your worth, budgeting becomes easy. Developing that spending plan becomes a breeze. Listen, before we end today, let me invite you to go to debhowardonline.com. I have a course coming up and I would love you to be a part of it. All right. I'd love for you to be there. It's on January 29th and you can sign up there, and it deals with your beliefs and your budget. Yes, it does. Yes. In fact, the name of the class is called Beliefs, Budgets, and Breakthrough. So go to debhowardonline.com, check out the information, see if that's something that fits your need. I'd love to see you there. Listen, I'm Deb Howard, your abundant life coach. I'll see you on the next episode here on The Den. Don't forget your 10 minutes, and you know what else I'm going to say. Go have your most abundant day. I'll see you soon.